I think I mentioned you just kept thanking me, and
You're
but I
such a big
told
deal.
you, but I told you, like, doing this is my love language. It's
Yeah.
my way of like showing how much I care about you guys.
Yeah.
And just following your trip and inspiring, and just, it's inspiring, and just to play a small little role.
Pedal, ride, head down, ride, pedal. That was the mantra at times on the Great Divide this year. You know, we studied, we prepared, we researched, we geared up. You know, we took training on how to fix the bike, training for ourselves, hours and hours in the bike rack over the winter trying to get ready. And there we were at the start, at the end of June. We were in Banff. We were enthusiastic. We were excited, nervous, yep, cautious, a ton. We knew it was going to be quite a bit different than what we did last year from Jasper, Alberta to Roosevelt at the Canada-US border, but it was something. You know, it was good, bad, and the ugly. We saw a ton of interesting and amazing landscapes. Met tons of people. Had fun on really fun sections of the trail, and the good and the bad and the ugly. The bad and the ugly. I guess there was some roads. I wouldn't even call them roads. Some parts of the trail that were just downright nasty. The rains turning first the rains itself. In the beginning it was just rain. It wasn't a big deal, but near the end of the ride, the last quarter, lightning storms, thunderstorms. The lightning was all over the place, especially, it just seemed every time we went over a pass, the lightning was out and it was striking the ground. We weren't that far off from where the clouds were, and just hitting all around us at times, especially in the southern part of Colorado. And driving rain. That wasn't rain, that was like driving rain. And hail. Lots of hail at the last part of the ride. And then there was the ground surface turning to peanut butter, or in general, some of the rocky's not even a name for it. Boulders, cobbles, and nasty sands. But, everybody had those issues. Bike issues, bike mechanical. The bike itself was great. Just had a hell of a time with the rear tire. I went through 3 sets of tires, constantly delaminated, just due to the roughness of the trail, and I guess just us and our gear. We were about 65 pounds loaded down, but it just seemed to be not good for we had certain kind of wheels and they just sucked. So that was part of the ugly part, was the mechanicals. But one thing we weren't prepared for at all was the kindness trail magic shown to us on the ride. We were lucky. We had kindness in boatloads this year on the Great Divide. All the way from small little gestures, words of encouragement, winks, clapping, providing beer to us on a pass, just to say thanks to us. I guess for getting out there when others can't. They see themselves in you, and they get excited. And we had a lot of those types of encounters throughout the ride. But we had some special acts of kindness that deserve some more attention and explanation here. There was 4 or 5 in particular that just kind of we didn't know what to say. Our mouths were just hanging open with the acts of kindness that some of these people bestowed upon us, and we felt very humbled. I don't even know what the right word is, but humbled is the only word I can think of. And we sat there with our mouths open as these people provided us with kindness. This is our ride. we were getting supplies, and we met a couple, Chris and Blair, and they started asking us about our ride, and eventually they saw that we had a whole bunch of supplies, and we're trying to make it to Holland Lake, which is still another 20, 25, 30 kilometers south of here on the east side of the road. And they offered to take our supplies in, and we said, oh, that'd be great. We're not sure how we're going to stay there because there was no vacancy. And in the end, they gave us a campsite. So we stayed at the Holland Lake campground in one of their campsites, which their friends never showed up, and we used the empty site. And once we all got cleaned up that night, they brought us over to their campsite, and they fed us like kings. We had a great meal. We got to spend time with them and their 3 kids, and we even had a fire. They roasted some marshmallows for us. It was just excellent. So that was one of our, I guess that was the very first example of kindness or trail magic. So this is the site of our second kindness experience. So we just came out of Ovando, and we're just crossing this highway here, Highway 200, and just about to go up into the mountains again towards, ultimately get over some passes towards Lincoln. And what happened was Heather noticed a sound, like a twacking sound, and it turned out that I had about a 5-inch delaminated spot on my tire. We came across to this side of the road, and within a minute or two, a nice rancher named Steve picked us up in his truck, and lo and behold, he drove us all the way into Helena. He actually lived south of Helena. Drove us right to the bike shop, stayed with us in the bike shop until the bikes were accepted, drove us right to the hotel, came with us into the reception area to make sure that we were all looked after. We met a father and son, Jim and Will, bikepacking the Great Divide south of Butte. At the time, the 4 of us decided to ride the Milwaukee Road Rail Trail to Pipestone Pass as a short alternative to the Great Divide route. The 4 of us hit it off right away, so much so that we all decided to continue biking and camping for the next 3 days until Lima, Montana, where Jim and Will would be exiting the route. As we rolled into Lima, Jim announced that he had arranged for us to stay at his sister's amazing ski condo when we got to Steamboat Springs, Colorado, 13 days later. We stayed 2 amazing days in Steamboat before resuming our ride over Lynx Pass to Radium, Colorado. We are forever in debt to Jim, his family, and sister for their generosity and kindness.
It's no sweat. I mean, you were nice folks, and I know, having been out there 13 days myself, that a soft bed and a warm shower mean a lot. And so I figured you guys could use it. So you were going to be going through there anyway, so it wasn't any trouble. So no, I mean, I just feel like it's just something you ought to do, to, because you understand the predicament that everybody that's doing it is in. If you got to blow out, you stop and you help people. If you can share your food, you share your food. If you can, give somebody a place to stay, then you do it.
Atlantic City, Wyoming was the location of another significant act of kindness. It had been a hot and dry day as we rode into the town, leaving behind the Wind River Range. We were low on food, so we eagerly anticipated a meal at the Mercantile, but it was just not to be since the restaurant was too busy and the adjacent Miner's Grubstake restaurant was closed. So we did what we always did. We just broke out what meager rations we had and began to eat. At this point, a rancher named Jess came to our rescue with bread and cold cuts, and we proceeded to thank her and then devour the food immediately. Little did we know we would cross paths with Jess and her family south of the town on our way to our planned campsite at that Agnes Well. As we rode by Jess's family summer ranch, she and her young son came out to meet us with an ATV packed with food and even wine. What an unexpected and wonderful surprise. Jess told us she and her family routinely keep an eye out for Great Divide hikers and cyclists and help them whenever possible. Once again, we were humbled to the core by her family's kindness and generosity.
Kevin and I knew we would meet you in Colorado, and you knew we were going to meet you. But I immediately last year told Kevin, I also want to drive up north and surprise them. I wanted to be set up along the side of the road, and you ride by, and we have meat grilling, and yeah, we were totally going to just surprise you. The original plan was to meet you in southern Wyoming, and
Which we didn't know.
no, right, no,
Joy Neuer.
yeah, but as you got, I think you were 1 or 2 days behind.
Yeah.
So I knew
We were
during my time, or during the weekend when I could come up there, you were going to be further north. So I was reading the route and trying to figure out where I was going to meet you. And that's when I learned about the Great Basin and how, like, there's no water, it's windy, it's hot.
It can be really hot.
So it actually worked out well. I was like, this is perfect. I'm going to support them through that really tough stretch. Doing this is my love language. It's my way of like showing how much I care about you guys and just following your trip and inspiring and just, you know, it's inspiring and just to play a small little role.
The one thing that you can count on riding the Great Divide is the constant change of fortunes. And boy, did we get a chance to see both sides of this coin after leaving Abiquiu, New Mexico. We were on top of the world after staying at the amazing Abiquiu Inn, but we should have known better. We got cocky. Change came hard and swift, like a slap in the face, or more accurately, a punch in the gut. Fast forward to the next day, about 50 or 60 kilometers south of Abiquiu, on our way to Cuba, and there we were on the descent of a peak in the Jimenez Mountains staring at my broken bike. This section of the Great Divide for us was the toughest and most challenging on the entire route. My rear rack and mounting mechanism on one of my panniers snapped like toothpicks after a wipeout on a very steep, boulder-strewn stretch of the route. Here we were on a desolate part of the route, nowhere near a destination that day, with little to no water, no potable water sources for hours, a storm cell quickly rolling in, and another substantial hill to get over. The route had finally won. We had met our match. And the first time in 45 days, quitting seemed like a reality. But as dark thoughts took hold, out of nowhere came a 4x4 truck and a young driver named Antoine who offered to take us down to our campground. But to be honest, there was a few hitches in play. One, Antoine was a bit rough around the edges, and when he and I went around the back of the truck to lift the bikes into the truck bed, suddenly he had a knife in his hands. And all I could think of was, oh my god, here we go. But as weird as it seems, the knife was holding the tailgate in place. Of course it was, why wouldn't it? And secondly, a fanged Doberman pinscher named Doobie was sitting alert in the passenger seat, just going nuts and barking and growling at me. Yep, he's a killer and I'm doomed. But we all warmed up to each other by the time we rolled into our campground just before dusk. After completing a brutal, bumpy, and teeth-gnashing descent, including passing through several snow and hill stretches over the roughest terrain known to humankind, all we could think about was how do people ride this section, given that a 4x4 truck had a difficult time negotiating the boulders and massive ruts. The enormity of the impact and power of people's kindness really hit home when we recounted our kindness stories to an elderly man at a laundromat in Pinedale, Wyoming. He'd noticed our bikes leaning against the front window and inquired tentatively about our ride, where did we come from, where we were going, how many days had been on the road,
and how many were left, that sort of thing. As we proceeded to answer his questions for the first time since starting the ride, we changed the narrative from that of the usual hardships and mishaps to instead telling him about the incredible acts of kindness bestowed upon us. When we finished, the man sat quietly for a moment staring at his hands in his lap and looked to be close to tears. He raised his head and stared at us for a bit, then thanked us for telling about our kindness stories. He told us that given the unrest, anger, and mistrust and negativity that seemed so pervasive these days, he didn't believe there were still good people left in the world. We told him there was lots of good people out there. In fact, we'd met nothing but good people on the route. He thanked us and told us that we'd renewed his faith in humanity. We bid the man goodbye with a sense of well-being, that we had helped somebody through a tough time by simply recounting the kindness given to us. The Great Divide provided us with a unique and wonderful gift, which was the lasting memory of truly amazing people, their unselfish generosity, and the power of kindness. All the other experiences, like the jaw-dropping scenery, experiencing nature on such an intimate level, overcoming challenging conditions, and living a very simple existence, pale in comparison to the acts of kindness bestowed upon us. These people did not try to convince us to be kinder. They simply showed us what kindness could do. They inspired us to be like them, unselfish and genuinely good. Although our world is fast and chaotic, and the news these days often seems grim and punctuated by strife, war, and divisiveness, the greatest gift we can provide one another is kindness. It's our world's superpower.